giving somebody the blues today.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Tekken 8, Harada's tweets, and guest characters and normal characters all over again. We just had this discussion, but Tekken fans just do not listen. The only things that Tekken fans know how to do is beg and complain. And if they're not complaining, they're begging. If they're not begging, they're complaining. Harada already said before on Twitter, I did a whole video talking about it and explaining it and breaking it down, but he said, stop asking for characters. It's too late. You can't see a trailer or an announcement and think now's my chance to ask for things. I said this already, but the time when you guys should have been asking for characters is around season 4, is around season 3. That is when you send your tweets at Harada and say, hey, in Tekken 8, do this. In Tekken 8, give a stat. And by the way, let me just say, character requests has been ongoing ever since Geese Howard and Noctis was released. Once we got the first additions to Tekken, everyone has been non-stop flooding Harada's Twitter with character requests. And honestly, all jokes aside, it is kind of sad that this man just get bombarded with requests. Tekken fans are just so relentless. Let's get into the discussion though. We have a lot here to talk about and there's a lot of tweets that I want to go through. With all of this discussion about Tekken 8, Tekken 8 is trending right now. Continuing from the last video, this picks up with a tweet that says, this is what happens when I go to work again. Let's all play Persona. Someone responds and says, I like Claudio's Oset for his Persona-like atmosphere. I'm guessing this is saying Claudio reminds them of like the Persona characters in that universe. And just looking at the cover, I never played Persona, but looking at the cover, I could see Claudio mixed in with, honestly, the person on the right with the blue hair. That kind of looks like it could be a version of Claudio. Harada responds to this, is that because I basically don't say anything about Claudio? 1, I decided to make an Italian character. 2, I asked the younger generation to try making it. 3, I thought, well, I personally wouldn't, but I approved all of the designs and animations and story. If you watched Harada's bar, I think it was probably like 4 weeks ago or something like that, he was talking about how over the lifespan of Tekken 7, and you could go back to Tekken Tag Tournament 2, there's been a lot of new faces popping up and helping out with development. So maybe as a test of their skill, their job was to create Claudio. And did they succeed? You guys let me know down below. Do you think the younger generation did a good job with developing Claudio? Another tweet translated from Japanese to English. This is when all the character request stuff picks back up, right? Anytime Harada mentions a Tekken character name, the community gets really, really happy. So when they saw him talking about Claudio, they was like, now's my chance. Let me ask for a character. In response to all of that, Harada says, well, the reply column is filled with only requests. How many times have I told you that it's too late to send a request after watching the trailer? The correct answer is to usually give feedback or request the content you like. It's already too late in most industries to make a request, as I remember seeing the new release. Here's the thing, right? I said this already, I don't want to be repetitive, but when they release a trailer for anything, a movie, a video game, whatever, once they release a trailer, you have to understand that they are very far in development. Yes, if necessary, they can make massive overhauls. There is rare cases where Twitter and the internet can make a change, but if everyone loved it, they're just going to continue doing what they are doing. And this is kind of what I mean when I say Tekken fans can only do 2 things. He tweets out, stop requesting characters. In the responses, what are people doing? Requesting characters. I want to read some of these replies just to give you an example of what Harada deals with on a daily basis, but we do have a lot more responses from Harada and the discussion really does get interesting. But let me just give you a taste of what's happening. I get that requests are tiring, but they may be for what's best for the game. How arrogant are you to think you know more than the devs? People act like Harada and Michael Murray and Tekken Project don't know what they're doing, but Tekken 7 is the most successful Tekken ever. And also, when you focus more so on base rosters, I ask you this question. Leave it in the comment section. Name one Tekken where the game had a bad base roster and everyone was upset. You can't. Every single Tekken game, the base roster has been top tier. The Tekken devs know what they're doing, but all of a sudden Twitter feels like they don't. There's some more responses in here. I'm not going to read all of these. One of them that I do want to read says, "Hey Harada, can you give us some info about Tekken Cross Street Fighter's status? Is it still on hold, or can you confirm it's canceled?" The only reason Harada probably isn't saying it's canceled is because Capcom is involved. All the people who still think Street Fighter Cross Tekken or Tekken Cross Street Fighter is coming, you guys really should give it up. We got Street Fighter 6, we got Tekken 8. This is actually the tweet that I read in the first video. This is the original tweet that sparked the whole stop asking for characters discussion. He says, "Well, there are a lot of people who make character requests after seeing the announcement of a new game teaser, movie, or trailer, but it's already too late. But the reason why this is relevant now is because someone responds and says, I would like to ask Mr. Harada opinions on changing costumes and backgrounds with mod." I won't read all of the tweets that Harada has listed out responding to this person asking about mods, but I will post the tweets. You guys can pause and read it if you want. Another response to Harada says, "Is it difficult to realize it as additional content such as DLC?" Basically saying, we're requesting characters. If it's too late for base roster, just see it as requesting for DLC. As an active player, I feel sad that I have to make requests for the next game before the game is announced. And when I read this, I think back to when I was making Tekken 8 videos before it was announced. A lot of people were saying, why are you talking about Tekken 8? It's not even announced yet. And this is why. Once it gets announced, once we see a trailer, it's too late. You should have been on my side. You should have been doing it when I was doing it. Talking about the characters, talking about the theories, talking about all that stuff before Tekken 8 got announced, because that was the time. A tweet from Harada literally says it. There's of course the possibility of adding it later, so not ruling out these requests, at least some of them being DLC. He says, however, only those who make requests at a so-called too late timing, such as a group of people who reply many times with traditional spam, will be greatly disappointed when their requests are not fulfilled at the time of launch. You can't complain. So he's basically saying everyone right now who is requesting characters, they are not requesting characters for DLC. They're requesting characters for base roster. It just doesn't make sense. They're sad they have to make requests before the game is announced. I mean, that's just how things work. You want them to make a trailer, hear the request, and then make a game. It's like developing a game backwards. You know, you build a game. Once you get to a certain point, you make a trailer. You can't make a trailer for a game that you're not yet. It's backward. I mean, I appreciate Harada going through and responding to all of these people. Like, there's so many different tweets here. You guys will be able to see all of these people that Harada is trying to respond to and trying to engage with the community. This is one thing I really appreciate. Like, people give Harada a lot of flack and a lot of pushback, but what other developer will take this much time and just respond to people and try to explain things? There's so many different tweets in here, Harada trying to break down the development side. And if you follow along with the string of tweets, you really can learn a lot, because that's what I did. Another response here, I think this one is interesting because it relates to Negan. In Tekken, I thought it was great that Negan, a character from a drama, appeared rather than the game. If it's Tekken, wouldn't it be possible to have more celebrities that actually exist? Harada responds and says, that's right. There are many cases where we've been turned down even if there was an offer here. I would like to invite a villain as a base, so by all means, all villains in the world, ... The reason why he chose Negan is because he's a villain. And you can see the same thing with Geese Howard, he's a villain. Akuma, he's a villain. Harada loves the villain type of character because they offer something special to the game. In Tekken 8, he would also love for a villain to show up. But the thing is who and at what cost? I see so many different character requests being thrown around like a hot potato. But most people don't really even understand how much a character costs. At the same time, kind of as a coincidence, we have a tweet here from High Buff Gigas where they find a news article from like 2013. This is from Skullgirls. But the reason why this is important is because we also have some tweets in here about Tekken, or I found some tweets about Tekken. So I'm just going to break this down and talk about it as well. The tweet from Buff Gigas says, how much do you think it costs to create one Tekken character? The news article says Skullgirls characters cost $250,000 each to create. When you get a little bit deeper into the article, they have a breakdown of how the money is being spent. The character that they were working on in this particular instance was $155,000. And you can see $48,000 went to staff salary, $30,000 animation and cleanup, $4,000 voice recording, that's voice acting, $2,000 hitbox contracting. You can just see all the different breakdowns, and you can see how so much money turns into one character. I have a tweet in here from Harada, but let me finish up with this Skullgirls. For comparison though, the core Skullgirls characters cost between $200,000 to $255,000 to create, and we have it on pretty good authority that is actually quite cheap. $250,000 is quite cheap, especially for the amount of animations we put into our characters. I'm not going to read the end of the quote, but you get the point. $250,000 is cheap. I went back and found a tweet from Harada. This is in 2019. The original tweet is unavailable. It's probably been deleted, but basically someone was asking the question of how much does it cost to make a stage? How much does one stage cost? Harada says it depends on the type of design and how many people are working in parallel. Even with the same fighting game, a 3D fighting game with a 360 degrees panorama is much more expensive to develop than a 2D fighting game with multiple room structures. Object destructions, floor destruction, multiple structure designs is more expensive than ring out designs and an infinite stage. 50 million yen is the cheapest stage. So here's the thing. 50 million yen roughly translates into $480,000. That's American currency. So one stage costs almost $500,000 to make. And he's basically saying the more elaborate a stage is, wall breaks, floor breaks, after round 3, the music change, the lighting change, it's nighttime. All of those different things have to be designed by so many different people. And if we go back to that Skullgirls character breakdown, we can see how the resources and the staffing and all that stuff is broken down and divided. And what's really fascinating about this, a stage costs $500,000, but a character costs even more. One character costs more roughly than a stage. So this just shows when you guys are asking for these wild requests, you have to ask yourself, one, will it be worth $500,000? These developers don't want to break even. If you spend $480,000 on a character, you want to make probably double. So will your requests do that? And another thing too, $500,000 is for a character that they're creating, a character like Leroy, Fakamram. But what about a guest character where you're working with another company? When you talk about Akuma being put into Tekken 7 and Kazuya being put into Smash, who is paying who? And like Harada said in the tweet, some of the characters he's requested or some of the ideas that he's had has been turned down. One example, and this is how I will end the video. If you go way back in time, a lot of people wanted Kazuya to go into Smash, but at one point in time it was hopeless. Smash didn't want to do it. Harada couldn't pull the right strings to get it to happen. And after years and years and years of working to try and get that character in Smash, it eventually happened. So you can just see how difficult, how long the process is for guest characters specifically. These things takes years to work out. When it comes to Tekken 8, I have a lot of faith in Harada. The base roster is going to be a banger. The DLC is probably also going to be a banger. I do worry about how overpowered the characters will be. And if they do guest characters, I know those characters are definitely going to be overpowered. But I'm excited for Tekken 8, and I do get that the community is also excited. We want to see more. We want to see trailers and characters and all these things. But that's it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video, and also follow me on Twitter if you're there. That's going to be it though. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.